In this video, I'm going to tackle a question that I hear a lot, or I get asked about a lot. Do I think you can live in Spain on your state pension alone? So, I have thoroughly researched state pensions across the UK, Europe, USA and Australia, who are my biggest audience areas. And to my shock and horror, the UK comes out the lowest of all, which it shouldn't really surprise me. So yep, the lowest. But it makes a perfect baseline for this video, because if it's even half manageable for a Brit here in Spain, then all you guys that are watching who aren't from the UK are already starting in a stronger position. And later in the video, I'll show you exactly how the UK compares to all the rest of the countries, so you know exactly where you stand no matter where you're from. Hi guys, welcome to the channel, welcome to Spain. I'm Steve. So yes, today we're going to look at what life here really looks like if you're coming here to live and you're on your basic state pension. And for the UK, that's around £920 per month, which is just over €1,000, which is the lowest in the developed world. Now, before we get into detail, because of the nature of this video, I need to be clear. I'm not a financial advisor or a lawyer or anything like that. Your circumstances will be all different in some way. So take this as a real world perspective, but always get professional advice if you're going to make a big decision such as moving abroad. So yeah, whenever I dug into these numbers, I was truly shocked. Out of all the countries that I was looking up, the UK came out the worst, the lowest. Terrible. And I just can't help feeling that retirees from the UK are being taken for a bit of a ride, aren't they? People work all their lives, pay in for decades, and this is what they're expected to live on. And I suppose that's one of the main reasons why it's so important for people who either live in Spain or want to live in Spain to know what that amount really gets you, really buys you, really covers. Because logically, if you can make it work here in Spain on a UK basic pension, you're actually probably in a stronger position than you realise. I will explain. Now, some of you may have seen my recent video where I broke down the different retirement budgets here in Spain. Retiring on 1,000, retiring on 1,500, retiring on €2,000 a month. And the comments in that video were fantastic, but they also raised a lot of questions. And one of the big ones was, yes, but what about just the state pension? And that was from people in several different countries. So in this video, I'm going to build on that and use the UK pension as the baseline to really test what type of life you can truly expect. Right, so here's what I'm going to cover in this video. First, what the UK state pension actually buys you in this country, in Spain. The rent, the food, the bills, and whether you can actually live decently or just scrape by. Then I'm going to look at how that looks for a single person versus a couple. And finally, how the pensions compare across the countries, so that you'll know exactly how your particular situation stacks up. And just to set the stage, here's a quick look at the numbers side by side. So the UK, the US, Australia and Western Europe. And you can see straight away the UK comes in the lowest, which is really shocking. I know I keep saying that, but dreadful. And their government's always trying to convince you that they look after you. They do not. They look after the rich, in my opinion. Now, I'm from Northern Ireland, so I consider myself Irish and sort of stroke British of two passports. But because I'm in Northern Ireland, I am part of the British system, and I can't help feeling shortchanged. I'm going to be getting my pension in a few years, and they've just put the age up. So for me, it goes up from, can't retire when you're 66, now it's going to be 67. When you think in life as the world or countries get richer, that they'll be looking after their pensioners, not making them work longer. But yeah, we've paid our national insurance all of our lives, and we end up with the lowest check, the smallest check, right? So don't want this to turn into a political video, but there is a flip side. If you're watching from the US, from Australia, from Western Europe, the good news, as I briefly mentioned at the start, is that you're in a good, strong starting position. Your pension here is going to stretch much further than a UK pension. So if people can make it work here on the lowest, you've automatically got more breathing room. Right, so let's start with the basics. So the UK pension here is going to get you here in Spain just over €1,000. And by the way, to get that amount, you have to have 35 qualifying years. If you have less than 35 qualifying years, the pension's less. I'm not sure how much it is, it's 700 and something. But most people who are going to be claiming the pension or getting the pension are going to have worked more than 35 years. So we're going to be generous and work on the normal higher amount. So first obvious question is, so what does €1,000 or I think it's €1,070 at today's current rate actually buy you in Spain? First of all, if you're a single person renting, and let's be honest, if you're coming here on your own with just over 1,000 a month and nothing else, you're not going to be living big. You're certainly not going to be living in holiday mode. And of course, it's depending on your spending habits. If you're very frugal, it's a different story. And the truth is, if you're going to come here and live on €1,060, you need to try to be as frugal as you can be. But there are plenty of people who do, and they do okay, they do well. But let's take a look. By the time you've paid out, let's say anywhere from 300 to 500, which would really be the lowest you're going to get any decent rental for, a good chunk of your pensions is already gone before you've even opened the fridge. Add utilities, food, and suddenly every euro matters. Eating out, rare treat, and any unexpected bill could wreck the month. But it can be done. It's a bit of a tightrope, and you're certainly not in a comfort zone for most people. So I'm not going to pretend this is easy. Living in Spain on just over 1,000 a month can be tough. But here's a perspective that's very important and worth listening to. It would be just as hard, no, harder to survive on that same amount back home if you're from the UK, where rent, bills, everyday costs are higher. So even at the toughest end of the scale, Spain still gives you a better shot at stretching that pension because it is cheaper to live in Spain and you get the sun. Now, let's look at it for a couple. A couple both on state pension, suddenly the couple of you have double. You have €2,120. I don't know if I just got that wrong. Per month. Your rent doesn't double, your bills don't double, your shopping costs, especially if you buy in bulk, should be less, and suddenly you can afford to maybe eat out weekly, maybe run a car and enjoy a few extras. And I suppose it's still a modest lifestyle, but it would feel like you've stepped out of survival mode at home and into something much more comfortable. Now, the next scenario, because some people will come here, they'll be living in their state pension, but they had a property to sell. So they may have a few pounds in the bank and enough money to buy a small apartment or whatever. And if you're in that situation where you bought somewhere and you don't have rent to pay, that really changes the scenario for both single and couples. With no rent, €1,000 a month stretches much, much further. Food, bills, and still a bit left over for treats, trips away, meals out. And that's the situation I'm in. And it works very well for me. I have a very high standard of living considering that I can live on around €1,000 a month. But we'll have to be real. The truth is most people, single people especially, who are starting out here, don't already own. Which is why in this video I'm sort of focusing on renters. So I suppose that's another way to look at it. If you're going to own your own property, just remember these figures brighten up a lot. Right? So, a takeaway from that, the harsh truth. If you're coming to Spain as a single person with just a UK state pension, you'll be scraping by a bit, but less of a scrape by than other places and less than UK. Right, so other countries and how do they compare? So the United States, and I've really researched these figures thoroughly, but they're not going to be completely accurate. And I don't even know in America if the pension or whatever it is to get the benefits are different in each state. This is the average. So in America, the average Social Security benefit for a retired worker is around $2,000 per month, which converts to about €1,850 per month, which is nearly double the UK pension. Now, in the US, Social Security is also based on your earnings history, so not everyone gets the same. But the average shows you just how far ahead Americans are compared to Brits. Australia, the average pension there works out around 2,557 Australian dollars, and that equates to roughly 1,550 euro based on today's exchange rate for a single person. Now, it's means tested, so any other income or assets that you have may reduce it, but again, it's comfortably above the UK average. Western Europe, and these are the ones that surprised me the most compared to the UK. Countries like Spain, Germany, France, Italy. The average state pension tends to fall between 1,200 euros to 1,600 euros per month. So even on the lower end, and I'm not sure, I can't really remember which country that was, I think it was Spain, it's still higher the UK pays out. So let's be clear, the UK state pension is at the bottom of the pile. It's the one that I'm using as the baseline, because if I can show you that it's possible, even if it's tough to get by here in Spain on the UK pension, then any of you guys watching from the US or Australia or Western Europe is factually already in a better position. Now, just quickly, let's translate those international figures into real life here in Spain. On the US average pension of around 1,850 euro, this is where Spain starts to feel comfortable. You're not counting every coffee anymore. Easily afford a rent of 5, maybe up to 700, 750, 300, 350 for food, and that includes eating out, 100, 150 for utilities, and you've still got plenty left for doing other things, even for a single person. And for a couple drawing American Social Security, you're talking about 3,700 euro per month, and for that you're going to get a very nice lifestyle here. My advice would always be, no matter what situation you're in, don't spend a fortune on your apartment. Get a nice small apartment that you like and give yourself a better lifestyle. That's just a personal preference. Then in the Australian pension, it puts you, I suppose, above the survival line and into what I called in my last video the sweet spot. Your rent and bills are covered without stress. Your food and groceries are all manageable, and you can enjoy a decent social life. And that means Australian couples here, both drawing their state pension, would be living on around 3,000 euro per month, which is a nice amount to live on. Now, let's look at Western European countries. 12 to 1,600, and we'll go to the average of that, 1,400. And this is a sort of figure that many, when I talk to people, many retirees are at. Any who have small private pensions as well, maybe a bit of savings, that's usually in around 1,200 to 1,400 is usually in around their monthly living expense. And again, these are all definitely better off than a Brit, but you still have to be careful with your money. So yes, with 1,400 you've got real breathing space, and a double putting in twice that is in a really solid position. So when you line it all up, here's the point: the UK pension is the hardest test. If you can make it work here on that, and many Brits do, everything above that just adds comfort, choice, flexibility. So I've decided I'm going to call this the stress test pension. So what's the verdict? My verdict: can you live in Spain on a state pension? It's very doable if you're sensible, but definitely basic. And again, remember, we're talking about if you're having to rent, but if you own a property, it gets much more comfortable. And if you're in Europe, well, there's no point in me saying again, same logic. You've got more breathing room, more flexibility, and frankly, a much easier time of it. So that's the shocking bit, isn't it, for all you Brits out there? I don't know if everyone else knows that, and I didn't, but it's crazy. The UK is still one of the richest countries in the world, but pays the poorest pension, gives some of the highest tax breaks to the rich, and takes pensioners' bus pass off them. Got political again. I'm not actually very political usually. But as I think I've already mentioned, there is good news. Spain levels the playing field. Even the UK basic pension, you can carve out a decent lifestyle for yourself if you budget and live reasonably carefully. And for everyone else watching, if you've got more coming in than the UK pension and you're busting to move to Spain and still thinking about it, you are already in a stronger position, and it's very doable. Alright folks, I hope you enjoyed and found this video useful, but that's it for this one. I'm going to leave it off there. if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. I can't tell you how much it helps the channel, and I always say that, and then sometimes you have to reinforce it. For example, the last video, which got plenty of views, didn't get a lot of thumbs up, so go on that, it only takes a wee second. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It's free, it doesn't cost you any money, and it just means you're going to be informed of my next videos as they come out. Also, join in the conversation. If you have anything to say, any advice, write it in the comments. Alright, so until next time, bye for now.